Chairman Brown, thank you very much, and Ranking Member Toomey and members of the committee. I want to thank you for this opportunity to testify in support of an outbound investment screening mechanism. I'm grateful that Senator Cornyn is here with us today and for his ongoing partnership on this effort, as well as our colleagues in the House and the Senate who are sponsors of the legislation, the National Critical Capabilities Defense Act, Senate Bill 1854. Including in the House version of this legislation, Representatives DeLauro, Pascrell, Fitzpatrick, and Sparks. For decades, the United States has steadily ceded its manufacturing power to other countries, particularly foreign adversaries like the People's Republic of China. Outsourcing our manufacturing and supply chains has put our economic and national security at risk. The pandemic exacerbated this problem as we experienced shortages of PPE and computer chips simply because we were reliant on other countries to manufacture them and a broken supply chain to get them to us. In 2020, during the pandemic, I first introduced the National Critical Capabilities Defense Act to require targeted government screening of certain transactions by U.S. companies doing business in adversarial countries. The bill would help the U.S. better understand the risks of relying on foreign adversaries to design and manufacture goods critical to our economic and national security interests. Our goal must be to safeguard critical domestic industries and capabilities for American workers, manufacturers, and innovators. We must avoid any action that aids or abets our adversaries. Manufacturing, as we all know, is the foundation of our economic competitiveness. Working men and women in Pennsylvania, for example, have seen the damage that decades of offshoring and the hollowing out of American manufacturing strength and the knowledge that goes with it, what that does to those communities and those industries. According to the Economic Policy Institute, the People's Republic of China cost the United States 3.7 million jobs between 2001 and 2018. 2.8 million of those jobs, 3/4 of the total, were in manufacturing. In Pennsylvania, 137,300 of those jobs were our manufacturing jobs. But job numbers alone provide little insight into the family and community trauma, as well as the economic scarring that have ravaged so many small towns in Pennsylvania and other states. In key sectors such as communications equipment, electronics, and computer technology, we have ceded up to 40 to 60% of our domestic market share to Chinese imports. As U.S. firms continue to invest in high-tech and advanced services sectors, many of these investments have been made in countries that are owned, controlled, or influenced by the Chinese Communist Party. As of 2020, U.S. investments in Chinese companies totaled, in terms of capital investment, $152 billion to Chinese state-owned enterprises, $54 billion to Chinese military companies. At present, the U.S. has little knowledge of where these dollars are going and what sort of projects they may be supporting. We risk funding threats to our own national security. According to former U.S. National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster, venture capital firms are pouring billions into Chinese companies that are, quote, developing dual-use and sensitive technologies that are going to be weaponized against us or already are aiding and abetting the Russians, unquote. Without a mechanism or a process to understand the ways in which the export of U.S. investments and capabilities are resulting in a wholesale transfer of American R&D and expertise to our adversaries, without that, the U.S. is an active party in the decline of our own economic might and national security. The Chinese Communist Party has made clear its willingness to sever access to critical supply chains and use economic coercion to bully other nations. I won't give you examples of that. There are many in Australia and Lithuania and so many others. So I believe we have to confront a Chinese regime that is determined to cheat and bully its way to economic superiority. Some critics have said that outbound investment screening is something that should be left to the free market and private companies to sort out. Our adversaries, as we all know, will violate international law, and they'll ignore both private enterprise itself and free market rules. The People's Republic of China, its broader military and governmental ambitions, are intertwined with its trade and economic actions, because the Chinese government's agenda blurs the line between its economic and defense sectors by way of its civil-military fusion. When Chinese firms and state-owned enterprises compete against America's, it's done so with broader objectives in mind, including those of their military. It's up to U.S. policymakers, not international markets, to be vigilant regarding our national security, our manufacturing capacity, and the protection of our workers. There are significant gaps that exist in our export control programs and existing authorities. The U.S. should align our own outbound investment review mechanism with those of allies and partners such as South Korea and Taiwan, who have already taken the necessary steps to protect their national security. So I want to thank so many others who have worked on this in addition to Senator Cornyn, as I mentioned, and thank the administration for its support. And with that, and being a little bit more than a minute over, I'll conclude my remarks. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Ranking Member, thank you for the time.